I think both Jean-Michel Bayle and Jeff Stanton are familiar with wet conditions, and I think their styles are a little bit different. Stanton's strength will play an important role for him today. Coming from Michigan, he's used to this type of weather also. It rains a lot up there and has cold winters. Jean-Michel Bayle, coming from Europe, has ridden a lot of mud races, and so I think as far as those two members on our team, I think we'll still have a strong appearance, you know, so I'm looking for still a good day despite the conditions.
Well, there's no strategy for today. It's just go out there and pick and choose. You just have to be consistent, and, you know, it's hard to say. It's going to be so muddy and ruddy. It's just a strong man's going to survive, the guy that goes out and rides the smartest.
All right, good luck to you today. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. First of all, how do you like the switch in the Nationals from 125 to 250s?
Oh, that's much better for me because I ride in Supercross all the years in 250, so riding national in 250 is a lot more easy than one in 125.
Now, you were very close to a championship last year in the 125s. Do you think you might ever come back and try for a championship in the 125 class?
No, I don't think so. I just tried because Honda asked me to ride in 125, so I just ride the first year because I cannot ride in 250. So it was not my choice, and I ride in 125. But now I am in 250 and prefer to ride in 250.
Now, you said that you're going to go home after this season of racing, from what I heard. Do you think that you might ever come back and race some more championships, for some championships here?
No, I'm gonna be right next year again in US. I have 2 years contract with Honda, so I'm gonna be right this year and next year.
I don't think it's going to be any harder than it has been in the past. It's just, you know, different circumstances and having luck on your side, like it always takes to win. And races like today in the mud, it's just rolling the dice. You know, start's so important, and goggles are important, and you know whether you can stay up or. So it's this type of racing. It's just a gamble. You know, it's not as planned out as say you know another race would be.
Your longevity on the circuit really intrigues me. You've been so competitive for so many years, and I'm really curious, how have you been able to maintain such a high level of racing for so many years?
Well, I like winning, you know, I train real hard, and I haven't changed that, and I just have a routine down that I think basically works really well. And you know, it's just that I like, you know, like I said, I like to win, and the Kawasaki pays me a lot of money to do that.
I think the mud affects everyone. I've been practicing at home, and it's been raining at home all last week, so I feel I got some good practice in the mud before we came up here, and I felt good in practice. And it's just going to be one of those days where it's sort of miserable to go race, but that's what we get paid for, and just look at it like you got to go out and have fun and try and get a good start.
Now, you switched to 250s for this year's Nationals. Do you prefer the 250 over 125 as far as the Nationals are concerned?
Yeah, I sure do. I like the power better, and I think the bigger bike suits my riding style a little better. And it's always a lot nicer when you have days like this because you got the extra power to get you through the ruts and the mud. And there's a lot of mud out there.
Now, there's some real stiff competition in the Honda camp with Stanton and with Bayle. Do you think you can ride at their level and keep up with them throughout the whole series this year?
Yeah, I feel real confident. You know, I practice every day with my teammate Jeff Ward, and he's proven over and over he can beat those guys. And you know, I had a wrist problem at Gainesville, and I'm totally healthy now. And so no excuses. Just go out there and do battle.
Good. All right.
And we'll be back to watch the action in that of the National Championship Motocross Series at Sacramento. Stay with us. The 250 class is about to get underway. Welcome back to Sacramento, California, and AMA National Championship Motocross. It's been raining here in Sacramento for the past several days, and the rain continues to fall. It has created treacherous conditions on this racetrack. Despite that, there are a huge number of fans on hand, and they have enjoyed a tremendous show. If you have just joined us, so far in the program, the 125 class has provided the entertainment, and now it's the turn of the 250s. These are the big boys. They're on the line and set to go, and this 250 moto will be underway very shortly. Let me tell you quickly that because of conditions here in Sacramento, the program has been altered. The gate is dropped and they're underway. Instead of two motos, we're going to be looking at just one to decide the overall winner. Larry Brooks got the quick hole shot, but it's gone. Jeff Matiasevich with a big roost of mud in the face of Brooks took over the #1 spot, and that put Brooks on hold temporarily as Jean-Michel Bayle was able to squeeze in for the #2 position. So the running order here in the early going as the riders plummet through that water crossing for the first time today. And what a mess it is Jeff Matiasevich out front. Rider number 8, Jean-Michel Bale, is running in the number 2 position. Number 230, Larry Brooks in 3rd. Back and forth, we had a quick look at Mike Fisher aboard the KTM. He's number 14. Matiasevich, for the first time today, hitting the mud, the slop, the treacherous ruts of this Sacramento racetrack. Before it's over, there are going to be some mighty tired riders out there. And there's Damon Bradshaw, one of the pre-race favorites. Right in front of him was number 6, Mike LaRocco. Good to have LaRocco back on the circuit. He's been plagued with injuries all season long. Looks healthy now, though, as he's running close to the front. Here's 4th place, John Dowd, rider number 35, 5th, LaRocco. That's Damon Bradshaw trying to shield his eyes, number 11. And there, number 3, that was Jeff Ward. And nowhere in sight is Jeff Stanton. Now, Stanton, it looked like had gotten a fairly decent hole shot, but he never emerged from the first couple of corners. So Stanton, who was tied for the points lead with Jean-Michel Bale coming into this, the 2nd round. And there's Jean-Michel Bale right there. Has his work cut out for him today. He's well back in the pack. And if things stay the way they are with Bale up front, unless Stanton can really cut through some traffic, he's going to be in trouble in the championship points race. Look at the water as Mike LaRocco threads his way through. That water is just raging. Meanwhile, as Ward follows LaRocco, we've had a change on the leaderboard. Jean-Michel Bale, rider number 8, has taken over the number 1 spot from rider number 7, Jeff Matiasevich, who was the early leader. Now, that pair of riders came up to that raging river crossing, if you will, which is normally just a dry gulch here in Sacramento, and both of them seemed to hesitate. They kind of looked at each other and said, which way are you going to go? And Michel Bale picked right, and Jeff Matiasevich picked wrong, and Bale came out with a better line, and he emerged as the leader in this one. And already riders are pulled off the track. They're calling it a day, and I don't blame them. Bale, on the other hand, is calling it an early victory. The Frenchman casts a look to his left, sees absolutely no competition in sight, and dials it in just a little bit heavier. Now, earlier we made mention of the fact that Jeff Stanton was running up front but has disappeared from view. Let's go back and take a look at the start of this one, and you'll see just what happened to the defending champion. Now, Stanton was up front at the start. He got a big face full of mud, though, and he tried to adjust his goggles. He went off the side of the track. His wheel got caught in some kind of a rut, and Stanton ended up in an endo position. He's up, as we said, and he's running, but Jeff Stanton is well off the pace. Jean-Michel Bale, rider number 8, ahead. Here's number 7. That's Jeff Matiasevich in the number 2 position. And look behind them. You can't even tell one rider from another. It is an unbelievable situation. We'll tell you that John Dowd is in 3rd. And we had a quick look at number 230. That's Larry Brooks, who is currently running in the number 4 spot. And can you believe the water on this racetrack? If anything, I believe that it has gotten worse. Let's go back and take a look at this river crossing. We see some riders coming across now in slow motion, and you can see what I mean. What has happened? A dam has given away on the top portion of the racetrack, and that has created just all kinds of problems. Jeff Ward, meanwhile, continues to plot away. He's the wily veteran in this one. Ward knows what it takes to finish, and that's consistency. Damon Bradshaw behind Ward, rider number 11. He's trying to do the same thing. Now, these riders are not really concerned that Jean-Michel Bale is out front and running away. What they want to do is keep as calm and as cool, as collected as they possibly can. They want to be around when this one is over. They anticipate that Bale is going to have a problem. They anticipate that Larry Brooks and the other riders up front are going to have problems. They want to be in contention when those problems occur. Bale, meanwhile, is using every ounce of concentration to keep it together. Can he do it? Can he hold that lead throughout this moto and win the 2nd round of the championships? Find out when we come back with more action. And to what looks more like a mud bog than a motorcycle race, but in reality, that's just what it is. It's a motocross, round 2 of the AMA National Championship Series. It's been raining here for several days. Despite that, the fans have shown up in force and are supporting one of the finest races that they're going to see. The conditions have made it that way. There have been all kinds of action on this racetrack. A lot of spills, a lot of problems created by the mud. There are riders stuck all over. At times, you look out across the track and you can only see a handful of riders that are actually on the track and racing. The next time you look, there might be 10 or 15 more, as those riders that were stuck managed to get their bikes out of the mud hole and going again. So far, it's been all Jean-Michel Bayle, the Team Honda rider, and Damon Bradshaw has come to a halt on the racetrack. Bradshaw, rider number 11, the teenager from Charlotte, North Carolina, Team Yamaha, apparently watering his motorcycle out. Throws his goggles away. Number 1, that's Jeff Stanton. Now, we had a shot of Stanton earlier where he went down in the opening lap and was way back, but now Stanton is starting to work his way into contention. Stanton is trying to salvage as many points out of this moto as he possibly can. Now, Stanton and rider number 8, Jean-Michel Bayle, there he is, who is leading this event, were tied in points coming into this, the second round. What Stanton is trying to do is get as close to Bayle as he possibly can. Every time he passes a rider, well, he'll pick up a point or two, and that will mean at the end of the day, by the time the checkered flag is thrown, that he will have minimized the number of points that he could potentially lose to Jean-Michel Bayle. The series is still going to be a long one. Anything can happen, but you don't want to give away points this early in the ball game. Meanwhile, Jeff Matiasevich, who was the early leader, continues to fall back off the pace. Matiasevich has had his problems. Now, he is from Southern California, Anaheim, California, and he is quick to point out that he did not grow up riding this type of terrain and riding in mud, so it's relatively new to him. He's adapting very, very well, but it's not his favorite kind of racetrack. Bayle, on the other hand, appears to be having a good time. He's just throwing mud all over the place. And speaking of good times, do you think he's having one? I rather doubt it. That slippery mud claims one more victim here at the Sacramento track. The rain just keeps on coming. The conditions get worse and worse. There's Mike LaRocco, rider number 6. Oh, and LaRocco hit that rider purely unintentional. His bike got away from him, and LaRocco heads toward that water crossing one more time today as they try to pull Jeff Ward's bike out. LaRocco is in trouble, and LaRocco goes down. Did you see that maneuver? Now, LaRocco tried very hard to keep the bike upright and out of water. He succeeded. He was passed by Jeff Matiasevich, but what he wanted to do was keep the bike from being submerged, and he did the job. Here comes Bayle right along behind him now. Jean-Michel Bayle clears that water section with no problem at all. Let's take another look at what happened to Mike LaRocco. He just lost it in all of that mud, but watch his quick action. He's trying to hold the bike upright to keep it out of water and keep it running, and indeed he does. What a job he did. Mike LaRocco back on the track, and he'll go for it one more time. Meanwhile, Jean-Michel Bayle continues to go for it all over the racetrack. Earlier, I mentioned the fact that he had considerable experience in mud racing. Take a look at the number that he has mounted on top of his helmet, that little cardboard tent with the number 8 on it. Now, Bayle figures that he could come to a point in time on this racetrack when his motorcycle and number plates are so covered with mud that the scorekeepers will not be able to see who he is. He doesn't want that to happen, so he's trying to make it easy for them. Put his number up on top of the helmet. A good job, Jean-Michel Bayle. That way also, if you fall into the mud, there's that much more of you visible, and maybe you'll be a little bit easier to find and a little bit easier to pull out. Meanwhile, in Sacramento, the rain continues to fall. Here comes Mike LaRocco. He's followed by some lap riders, and there are some other riders that are out of it. One of them is Jeff Stanton, rider number 1. That's his mechanic, Dan Bentley, trying to kick the motorcycle. Stanton has left. There's Jeff Ward, number 3. He's out of it. Jeff Matiasevich, rider number 7. And Matiasevich is stuck, and it looks like he's going to call it. No, Matiasevich has got his Kawasaki fired, and he's going to get back into it one more time. Now, I have to be very honest, I don't know why you would want to get back into it one more time. I think I'd like to set off to the side and rest. Unfortunately, when you're a champion, when you're a competitor, well, that's not the way they do things. Jeff Stanton, for example, you can bet is plenty disgusted and discouraged at this point. Probably being out of this race, it will cost him any hopes that he has for winning the championship 3 years in a row. Jean-Michel Bayle, rider number 8, is your leader, and he was tied with Stanton for championship points coming into this one, and it would appear that Bayle is going to pick up all kinds of points. You get 25 for winning and 0 for non-finishing. So Bayle would leave here today if he's able to hold on to that position, a full 25 points up on Jeff Stanton. Now, there's number 35, John Dowd, and unbelievably, John Dowd, a privateer out of New England, has managed to close the gap on Bayle. He's actually gaining on Bayle. I would have to guess that Bayle maybe has slacked off the pace just slightly, where John Dowd, a privateer, is saying, hey, I'm going to go for it all the way. Heading into this Sacramento race, Dowd was in 5th place in the standings, and I'm sure he figures, what have I got to lose? Why don't I just give it everything I've got and to see what kind of headway we can make on the champion. And look at this. Bale looks over his shoulder, and he saw Dowd coming. He looks again, and he doesn't believe it. I wonder if Bale thinks that John Dowd is a lap rider just trying to unlap himself. Well, if that's what he's thinking, he's got another thing coming, because John Dowd is in this one all the way. He has ridden a tremendous race. John Dowd now chasing the champion, Jean-Michel Bale. The rain continues to fall. Bale again looked over his shoulder quickly, and he said, where's this guy coming from? How can I shake him? Now Bale has picked up the pace. He is trying to pull away from Dowd, but Dowd is having none of it. The adrenaline is actually flowing in Dowd, and I'd have to say that the race pace is in Dowd's favor at this time. And Bale goes to the inside, and it looks like he almost shut off and let Dowd go by. John Dowd, a privateer from Chicopee, Massachusetts, has taken over the #1 spot in this, the 250 main event in Sacramento, California. It could be that Bale thinks still in his mind that Dowd is not in it, and he just wants to avoid all the confusion and the hassle of a lap rider, but he is mistaken. John Dowd has taken over the #1 spot. What a tremendous feat on the part of the Chicopee, Massachusetts rider. I'll tell you who else is fooled, our cameraman. He still has the camera trained on Bale rather than the leader, and I think that he doesn't believe that John Dowd is out there. But we've just checked our records, and indeed, John Dowd is holding down the #1 spot. Now we're on him from Chicopee, Massachusetts. A privateer has already captured the win in the 125 class. That one went to Doug Henry from Connecticut, another New England rider. And now we have a privateer taking the win in the 250 class. If Dowd can hold it together, if he can go on and win this one, it would be the first time in the history of U.S. motocross when a privateer had won both classes in a single day, the 125 and the 250. Now, Jean-Michel Bale is watching Dowd. He closed the gap slightly, but he's going to back out of it. I think Bale is going to be content to take that #2 position from here on out. All he wants to do is finish in these treacherous conditions. Bale knows that he's in the #2 position. Dowd comes around. He's going to take the checkered flag. John Dowd is going to win it, and indeed he does. And is he happy? You bet he is. The privateer from Chicopee, Massachusetts, riding out of Parkway Cycles, has taken the win while the rest of the field pushes their motorcycles off the racetrack. Dowd is probably the only one out there smiling at this time. We'll be right back with final results. Welcome back to the Sacramento Mudfest. What it was in reality was the second round of the AMA National Championship Motocross Series, held under the most trying of conditions. In the race that we just watched, the 250 class, John Dowd from Chicopee, Massachusetts, was the overall winner. He was followed across the line by Jean-Michel Bale. Mike LaRocco was third, Dan Jeanette fourth, and rounding out the top 5, Rodney Smith. Now, here are the championship point standings in the 125 class. That race held earlier today. Defending champ Guy Cooper is on top with 62 points. The Suzuki rider hails from Stillwater, Oklahoma. In second, it's Doug Henry with 56. Mike Kidrowski and Brian Swink are tied with 51 points for third. In the 250 class, the standings look like this. Jean-Michel Bale on top with 69 points, followed by today's winner, John Dowd. Jeff Stanton is third. Fourth place goes to Larry Brooks, and rounding out the top 5, Damon Bradshaw aboard the Yamaha. And that just about wraps it up at round 2 of the Championship Motocross Series from Sacramento, California. Be sure to check your TV guide for upcoming events, and the series continues on your local Prime Network affiliate. For Suzuki, who brings you motocross, I'm Larry Myers saying so long until next time.